effective hurricane, right? But yeah, so well, some of you are not here. Monday's class we finished chapter 3 on Monday, so I already begin the journey of chapter 5. So you can watch the class video online if you want to catch up, or maybe you can just read the slides by yourself. It's not too hard to read the slide because on Monday we didn't really cover any model. So we talk about capacity. Okay, so one thing before begin today's class is that's homework and exam. So I will post the homework one today in Blackboard. Also send an email to you guys about the homework. I checked the calendar. I think it's appropriate to. We will definitely finish this chapter before the end of next week. So I think it's appropriate to set the homework due date September 25. I will specify in the email sent to you guys on the announcements in Blackboard. So that's our homework. I may change my mind later, but most likely it's that date. So exam 1, my intention is September 29. So this is Monday, this is Friday. Okay. So that means I will give you guys like 12 days for homework. I post today, and you have 12 days to do the homework. You can ask me. You can contact Mike. I will give you the tutor's contact information, and then you can ask him. You can work together. That's no problem for me, but just don't copy from others, right? And then Monday you give me the homework. I will grade the homework as soon as I can, and hopefully I give you back on September 27. On Wednesday, then you can use your homework. It's open book, open note for exam. Well, definitely, the homework can be useful, right? So I will give you back to you on Wednesday. Then you can use this homework and other slides or textbook in the exam 1. So exam 1 and the homework 1, they will only cover chapter 1, 3, and 5, right? Clear? Questions, concern about that? Well, pay attention to your email card. You will definitely receive an email. I know many of you don't really check Blackboard since you are like traditional face-to-face students. Don't check Blackboard frequently, but at least I will send you an email. Okay, then let's continue our journey on capacity planning. So we have discussed some key questions we have to ask when we design the capacity, right? So what kind of capacity? Usually, the capacity we're talking about usually is like equipment, machines, like employees, laborers, like space, and so that's capacity. How much? Well, we need more employees, we need more labor. That's how much? How many people will need? Okay. Even you have perfect idea on the first 2 questions, doesn't mean you have a perfect planning because the time. When do you need that? If we know our business is booming, well, we know that. But when, how many you want to have? Next month, next year, next quarter? So all these 3 questions make the capacity planning very, very difficult. One reason for the students who are not here, right, Monday's class is here. Right? We want to match between the long-term supply with the long-term demand. So supply matches with demand is our ultimate goal in the whole semester, in all the chapters. We're just working so hard for forecasting. Why we want to forecast, right? If we have a better forecast, then we can match our supply with our demand. So that's the reason we work so hard. We went through 8 models on forecasting. Same thing here, right? Capacity. Why do you want to change your capacity? Because there's a mismatch between the supply and the demand. So that's the reason you have to change your capacity. But compared to forecast, it's much more challenging because it's long term. We have discussed, right? Why is long term? Why is long term for the capacity planning? You know that, I know that. For the students, especially students who are not here on Monday, why we're talking about long term? Why capacity planning is about long term? Forecasting, we never say it's long term. This can be next week's forecast. It's still useful, right? But the capacity must be long term. No idea? Nobody want to guess? What is long term? Can we change our capacity in short term? Can we? Can we change our capacity in short term? Like every month?
Yes.
Yes?
Yep.
Rins, you're right? Yes?
Yeah, I'm gonna say yes.
Yes, but? No but?
But it wouldn't be helpful.
It's very helpful, but the cost, think about it. You can change the capacity every month if you are a billionaire. You don't care, right? You purchase a big warehouse, you sell them next month, you help 100 people, lay off all of them, give a lot of benefit to them. You can do that. Well, if you have money, if you really want to do that. That's from the common sense. It's not cost efficient to change that every month, every week, right? So that means is we have a long commitment. Once we change the capacity, no matter you purchase a machine, you don't want to resell it in 1 month. Similar here, right? When you purchase a house, you don't want to sell that next year, or even in 5 years. When you purchase a car, you don't plan to sell this next year. But when you purchase a textbook, you can sell that next semester, right? So that's the reason capacity planning, capacity require a lot of investment, like house, like our car or individual expense. A lot of investments require a long-term commitment, right? So that's the reason it's long-term, which makes it very difficult. Okay, so the capacity decisions are strategic because it impacts ability for organization to meet the future demand. Well, demand is always about the future. When we talk focus is future, but this future is really long-term future. We're not talking about next week or next month. It affects our operating costs. If you have an advanced machine, it should lower down your cost per unit, right? Or you have a skilled worker set, so it's also lower down your cost. It's a major determinant of initial cost. So even you begin your business, right? You didn't produce anything so far. That's your initial cost. This can be very, very expensive, so that's why it's so important. Long-term commitment of resources, or several reasons. The first reason is that it's expensive. We don't want to get rid of them, right? So another reason, for example, it can be some contracts. Right? You can't get rid of them. You sign contracts with the supplier, with your employer. Well, even you want to lay off them, the contracts protect them. Can affect competitiveness, affects management. Very important, complex due to the globalization. Okay, I want to ask you why. Why globalization affects our capacity planning? Make it challenging. How? How the globalization can affect capacity? Want to say something, Alex?
I mean, I know how it does it. It's because it's so big. I mean, the time involved is very large, and then you have to deal with all kinds of factors. What kind of government situation, how communication problems, and there's a million different issues to deal with when you look at globalization.
Yeah, generally speaking, that's true. Yeah, I'm teaching management 3016, the organization management. Some students were in my class before for that class. We are talking about globalization for management, general management on Monday's class. But there are several very interesting questions. For example, one question I ask my students like, okay, it's not my question. I guess that from some internet. Say, do you agree that globalization is another type of Americanization? And most students don't agree with that. Well, if you don't agree that, so globalization is not Americanization. That means when we go globally, we don't have the expectation every country will copy American style. If we agree this is not true, this is not a trend, then, as Alan said, then you have a challenge. Because they are doing different. Right? It's not Americanization. They are doing different. You have to appreciate the difference, at least adjust for the difference. So that's kind of the problem. Capacity is the same. For example, if you held an employee here, it's still not easy. But maybe take a month to held like 100 employees. But if you have some size in some developing country, you need high-skilled workers. Maybe 1 month is not enough. So that is definitely will affect your capacity planning, right? Similarly, space, right? When you expand, if you go to Europe, they have strict regulation about the environment. So most likely, any change of your size, right, the size of your facility, you probably need more waiting time approved by the government, by the different regulation departments. So all these factors can be positive. For example, if you go to China, you don't need to wait for so long, right, to get employee, get construction, right? Like we have the school business building, right? We still have a proposal to begin the construction in 2018, and they claim the best scenario will have that before the end of 2019. And in fact, I could tell you 99% people don't believe that. There's no way that here we can finish the construction of the new building in 1 year. But I can tell you in China, I think my expectation is half a year to finish that. And my expectation, if we get money in 2016, or last year we get money, in China this year, at least this year, we begin to do the construction. 2018, we should be able to move in. But here is the United States in Robeson County, so that's a problem, right? But anyway, so when you change your capacity, when you go to globalization, right, you have to think about why this is really different, right? And also another thing for markets, related to our forecast. When we talk about the supply part, right? You change your supply, change your space, change your employer by new machine. What's about demand parts? If you go globally, your long-term future demand forecast become extremely challenging. When you talk about, okay, even Walmart, McDonald's, it's really hard for them to forecast their the revenue or sales in the next 5 years globally in some continents, right? No matter if you're a small company, right? Maybe you are doing okay nowadays in Asian markets, but there may be a lot of copycats have begin in the next 5 years to do the similar product you have now. If you are a small, middle-sized company, you can't compete with them with price or quality, right? But even McDonald's, Walmart, okay, they have suffered lots of hard time. For example, Walmart in the past 5 years, they closed a lot of stores in China because they can't compete with local competitors in the last 5 years. They were dominant like 10 years ago in China. They do a very good business like they do here in US. But people learn that a local company learn your style, and they can cut even more costs and improve the quality. And finally, the gap becomes smaller and smaller. So Walmart has to close a lot of stores in China. So the example I give to you is that globalization affects your supply. Globalization also affects your demand. And the capacity, we need a long-term supply match with long-term demand, which makes it extremely hard if you work for the global company. Need to be planned for in advance due to their consumption of financial and other resources. It's expensive. And next we'll talk about some math. That's probably the only math. Not the only math. There's beginning math. We will still have some math. I forget. Chapter 5 do have some math. But this is the beginning math we'll talk about. So the measurements, right? So we measure capacity in units. Okay, we don't need to update that. Why not to measure our capacity in dollars? You think about it, okay, we can say we can produce 1,000 bottles of Coke every day. That's our capacity, right? We can produce that up to that level. Well, if you sell $1 per bottle, you can say we can produce the value of $1,000 Coca-Cola every day. What's the problem? If you measure capacity by dollars instead of the units, what can be the problem? Is it clear for the question? So you can definitely measure, you should measure by the units, 1,000 bottles of Coca-Cola. Plus, if it's the price is $1, well, it definitely is equal to $1,000 Coca-Cola. Why we shouldn't use this as our measurement? We produce the value of $1,000 products. That's our capacity per day. What's the problem? What can be the risk if we measure our capacity by dollars?
Price change.
Huh?
Price change.
Price change. Very good. The price can change every day or every month, every week. Every time you change the price, right, the same quantity is changed. Very good. Okay, more challenging. Let's say the price doesn't change in United States. It's very stable. Like our water bill, right? You can't argue. They have the same price no matter what, right? If the price doesn't change, still have a problem. What's the problem? Doesn't change here. United States.
Currency changes are different throughout the world.
Very good, Alan, right? Even if it doesn't change in China, doesn't change in Britain, but the currency change, right? So today you say, okay, the euros, right, is one euros per bottle of Coca-Cola. Well, 1 euro is like $1.2 nowadays, but the next one can be 1.3, 1.1. So when we want to measure by dollars, there are two problems, right? Your local price can change, the local dollar price can change. Second, a global company, it's not even global. You sell the products overseas, right? You sell products through eBay, but they will convert the local currency to your US dollar. The eBay will pay for you. So it's currency change every day. So that's why we should measure our capacity by units. You should keep that in mind because many people like to measure things in dollar, but you should all try to avoid that. Well, if it's appropriate, right? Sometimes we can't avoid because we talk about finance. Everything is by dollars, right? We have to handle the fluctuation of the currency. But when we talk about management, about manufacturing, you probably want to measure a lot of things by units instead of dollars. Two useful definitions of capacity. The first one is design capacity. The second is effective capacity. Well, the design capacity is maximal output rates or service capacity an operation process or facility is designed for. Well, effective capacity is the design capacity we have defined here, minus the allowance such as personal time and the maintenance. My understanding or explanation, okay, maybe too simple, but that's how I explain that to you guys, okay. So design capacity like 24/7. Well, it really depends. Maybe it can't reach 24/7, but you think about it, it's really maximum. Okay, you have your labor, your slavers. Okay, your machine don't need any maintenance. Then that's your design. But effective is the reality. It's the reality. It's the real maximum we can get. Right? The machine do need maintenance. Right? The people do need to have rest. You don't have light shifts, or you don't have money to afford light shift. Then, okay, that's probably 8 hours, 5 days. That is your effective capacity. Clear? That's the difference. Well, ideally, you can push up to the design capacity, right? While you prepare several machines, rotate them, you hold 3 shifts, right? Day shifts, night shifts. You can reach this design capacity, but that's defined here is not effective. If you reach that, you pay more extra money to do that. And the actual output, okay, it's easy to understand. It's the actual output. It's the real output. Okay, even your effective is 8 hours, 5 days, but your employee can be idle for whatever reason, and your machine, even your maintenance every weekly, but still the machine can have interruption. So that can create problem. Usually the actual output is lower than effective capacity. Right? And two measurements, one is efficiency, which is actual divided by the effective efficiency. Okay, I want you guys to remember this formula. It's very easy, right? Actual divided by effective is efficiency. Utilization is actual divided by design capacity. So both of them are percentages. So because the denominator is always greater than the numerator. So it's the number, the ratio is always between 0 and 1. Actual over effective, actual over design. Okay. Now next, after you get these two formulas, we will go to the simplest example in the whole semester. I can guarantee you. So I would expect some students give me the answer in 10 seconds in this example. Yeah, maybe a little bit longer than 10 seconds. But you will see how simple it is. Right? Everybody gets the formula? Okay. So move on. Okay. Okay. Now the example is to calculate the efficiency and the utility. Sorry, I already gave you the answer. But anyway, it's easier. It's okay to give the answer here. So we have design capacity 50 trucks per day. effective capacity 40 trucks per day. Actual output is 36 trucks per day, right? So the efficiency is pretty easy. So actual divided by effective, 36 divided by 40, which is 90% for efficiency. The utilization is actual divided by design, 36 divided by 50, 72%. So you can see for these two measurements, they measure a different way of a capacity. So the first efficiency is pretty high, which means, given our current working hour for our employee, for our truck drivers or available trucks, we're pretty efficient, right? We use 90% of our effective capacity. We don't waste too much. But if you look at the utilization here, it's only 72%, which means there's some space we can push to reach the theoretical maximum, which is the design capacity. For example, you ask your driver to work overtime, right? You can do that if whatever reason during the recession, everybody do that, right? So you can reach that. So these two measurements tell you a different story. So the first one tell, okay, under current effective capacity, what's your performance? That's efficiency, right? No bad here. Second, tell you, okay, how far you are away from your theoretical maximum capacity. That's 28% away. The gap is, I can't say it's big, but it's there, right? So you can push further if you want or if you can, right? So that's two different measurements. Okay, that's so easy. Okay, so next we'll talk about the determinants of effective capacity. So such as facilities, so production and service factors, process factor, human factors, policy factor, operating factor, supply chain factor, external factor. I talk about, choose something to discuss. Okay, how will facility affect our capacity? How a facility affects our capacity? Does different facility have different impacts on our capacity? Well, let's think about it. Okay, let's think about manufacturing facility. So, manufacturing 1, manufacturing 2, manufacturing 3. They have 3 different facilities. Does this make any difference, or does it matter about the facility you locate in Pembroke? You have like a big facility you locate in Raleigh. You have a middle-sized facility. Does this matter or doesn't matter for capacity? Matter? Why?
Transportation costs, distance
Transportation.
to the market.
Very good. So basically, well, we're talking about later, like supply chain related that. Okay, but distance, it can change your capacity. For example, if you want to change your capacity in Pembroke area, like labor, it's most likely it's harder or slower than you change your labor capacity in Raleigh area, because the labor pool is pretty tiny here compared to Raleigh, and also if you need a high skilled worker, here most likely it's harder to get from Raleigh area. So that's one thing. Another thing is the facility size, right? Size matters. If you facility have a pretty small size, that's the maximum you can change your capacity. Even you have 100 perfect candidates, you can't have all of them, right? It's not enough space, right? Another thing is layout. We will not cover the layout design in our class. It's also a very important chapter, but unfortunately we don't have time for layout design. But think about layout design. When you want to design layouts given the same size, even labor to labor size, if the layout is different, it will create a problem. You think about it with Walmart, with Food Lion, Harris Teeter, right? Different stores, they have different layout design. Or even each Walmart, the layout design is different. For example, I get used of some Walmart's layout. So I went to a new Walmart. I think, okay, that's the layout. Left hand side, some grocery. Right hand side, some cars, something like that. Hard tool, and the middle part is the clothes. That's usually true. But one time I went to Walmart, I can't find the baby stuff. It should be there. And then they design a different way, layout. So you think about layouts can also affect the capacity, whether you can handle like big machine, whether your working flow, people work around is easy or not easy. So that's one thing. Product and service factors, again, service industry usually is more challenging. almost for all the chapter we'll cover. Same here for the capacity planning than manufacturing. Why for service industry is more challenging for capacity planning than manufacturing? Service, products. Why for capacity planning is more challenging here? Service.
It's hard to measure service.
Huh?
It's hard to measure service.
How to measure service? You mean
The capacity.
the capacity of service? Yeah. Very good. So when you talk about the capacity of service, right? It's again it's similar to the manufacturing, right? People, machine, as maybe software, right? And space. You still need a store to do that. But it's very different with the manufacturing. For example, people. Right? For manufacturing, people here, as long as we help them, as long as they have raw material, they shouldn't be idle. They just do their work, right, in the production line. But service, not true, right? People work from 8 to 5. If there's no customer in 8 to 5, you can't blame on your employer. That's not their problem. Capacity is there, but it doesn't match the demand. And 5:01, all customer come. Nobody's working here. So that creates a problem for service, right? And then you may think, oh, next time I ask everybody work until 5:30, come on 8:30, and then some customer come 8:10, you lose customer again. So service industry, the problem is that there's no inventory, right? There's no inventory. So when you talk about the capacity, it has to exact match. Customer come, you are here, machine are available. But so when I talk about manufacturing, okay, we have flexibility, right? You don't have to be match whatever. You have inventory, you have the transportation, can be weights. Process factor, definitely, if we talk about like luxury brand, like girls, right, they like luxury purses, right? Don't like that? Don't like luxury purses? Handbag? No? Really? So you guys, you just remember these girls. They can be very perfect candidate for a wife. But generally speaking, right, you like luxury. At least iPhone 8, right? You guys like that, right? It's released yesterday. Nobody like that? $800. It's very expensive though. But anyway, I bet my wife will purchase that. Okay. So when we talk about luxury brand, like handbag, I'm an expert on luxury purse. The reason I'm an expert is not I have any of them. I have non-luxury purse or handbag. My wallets, I used that for 5 years. I believe I purchased like $20 in TJ Maxx. I forget, but $20. That's my only bag, whatever, wallets, right? So, but I know that because of my wife, obviously. If I don't have a wife, probably I don't bother to know that. So luxury handbag or purse, for example, Chanel, Louis Vuitton, Hermes. At least I think girls, you should know these names. I don't need to purchase them. So those handbags, if you see the material, my wife teaching me. I didn't see any difference. Why? Well, just go to find Coach. Right? It's also very good, Coach. Right? So the material is different, which make your quality control is hard, which make you have to purchase an advanced machine to handle that. Probably the machine used in the Coach factory, produce the Coach handbag, doesn't work. That can't handle the requirement by Chanel or Louis Vuitton. Okay, people is the same. Oh, I say I work for Coach for like 20 years. I know how do you assemble in the zipper in the Coach handbag. Well, probably you did something wrong in 20 years. If you transfer to Chanel, they have a higher requirement. So you think about that, right? The process, the products differentiation will definitely make our capacity change or planning harder. Right? Human factor, no need to mention, right? Human is a factor of capacity. When we talk about, okay, you say, okay, in Pembroke, we need 100 employees to handle this demand. You move to Charlotte, maybe it's more than 100, maybe less 100. We're not talking about moving to some other country. Even from Pembroke to Charlotte, the workers' working efficiency, output rates can be different. So when you use your current work or current size, the capacity requirements for people, and to estimate the capacity requirements for Charlotte for some other size, you can be biased. Right? Operating factors, supply chain factor, Joseph has mentioned a little bit of supply chain transportation, right? When the supply chain becomes longer and longer, we change the capacity, it's not easy. It's not easy, right? Equipment Okay, if you want to have a cheaper equipment with same quality, you purchase overseas. Transportation time is very very long. They have to go to the boundary, have a lot of document to fill. You can wait for months to get this equipment. So that's the supply chain's problem. Some other factors also affects external one. Strategy formulation. Okay, strategy are typically based on assumption and prediction about long-term demand pattern. So that's why we spent more than 2 weeks on chapter 3 forecast. You will see that again and again. The long-term forecast or short-term forecast is the input for many chapters we'll cover now and later. Here is an example capacity, right? If we don't have a very good long-term forecast, there's nowhere you can have a very good capacity planning. Agree with me? There's no way, absolutely no way. You can tell me, okay, you have a lot of money, you are in the area you can have, there are lots of skilled workers. It doesn't matter. If your long-term forecast is not accuracy, right? You can't have this good capacity planning. Technological change. Why the technological change affects our capacity planning? Why this is an important factor we should consider? Nobody want to talk? High tech.
Machinery will make the workers obsolete eventually. So the more like technology and machinery that they get, the less workers they need.
Yeah.
Or staff.
Good point. I see they mentioned so it's like a replacement, right? Between the people and the machine or software. Right? That's one thing, right? Another thing is that so machine can upgrade so frequent nowadays, right? The machine you purchased last year, maybe they can't handle the product's requirement this year. That's the worst scenario. Then you have to upgrade. Even the machine still can handle, but you still think maybe I should upgrade, right? Then you think about, we talk about capacity, long-term commitment. You don't want to upgrade so frequently. Then what you can do? One thing is that, for example, you don't upgrade this time. Like my wife, why she didn't purchase the iPhone 7 because she didn't see a lot of difference between 7 and 6. She has 6 Plus. So she waits until this year, and I encourage her to purchase iPhone 8 Plus. Right? The same thing here is for individual developers, for machine, for company the same, right? Do you need to upgrade every time? When Apple has a new product, you want to? I don't believe most people will do that, right? iPhone 6 and 6 Plus, 6S, 7 Plus, 7S, whatever. Well, very few people did that. Right? Software is the same thing about, okay, you guys, okay, we are now using Windows 10. Do you guys use Windows 10 or still Windows 8? 10, right? Most people will still use Windows 10. Has anybody here has used the Windows 9? Raise your hand if you have used the Windows 9. You guys also remember, right? Where is Windows 9? We have used Windows 7, Windows 8. Now it's 10. Why is Windows 9? Well, I can tell you, it's existing. Windows 9 does exist, but it's not a mature product. So even Microsoft, they don't push too much. The test, the feedback is not so good. Okay. They even give you the free upgrade from Windows 7 direct to Windows 10. Older laptop, I did that. It's free upgrade. Right? The reason is that, okay, the customer don't like that. Okay, then you should be careful. Do you want to upgrade that version? Think about your apps, right? Sometimes, if even the new version of app comes out, you don't want to upgrade in the first minutes. Maybe there's lots of bugs or features you don't like. And people go to internet, you can search, okay, how can I find the older version of these apps? Because there's some functions, right? Save the text message, something like that. It's perfect. So that's thing we should always keep that in mind. Okay, competitor behavior. Why it matters for our capacity planning? Competitors.
In fact, what's going to be the demand in the future?
Very good. When we talk about the capacity, so it's almost everything is match the supply with demand. Right? As I mentioned, obvious one part it can affect the demand part. When competitors come to the market, the demand pass, you most likely you're going down, or unless your computer screw up, right? Then your demand automatically goes up. It's happened, but it's pretty rare. And then also pay attention, it can affect your supply pass too. The reason is that your competitor go to market, they sign a contract with your supplier, maybe higher price or high order quantity, then you are not the top 1 or top 2 choice of your supplier. Then maybe you will experience some shortage when you order from your supplier, or the quantity can be a problem from the supplier. And another thing, your employer. Competitor come to this area, they will attract your good employer to their company. It's also affects. So you can see the competitor obviously affects our demand, but also our supply with our employer. Right? So that can be hard. So all these 3 factors, they are very, very challenging. When we talk about long-term demand, you guys know that, right? Spend 2 weeks, we'll still only handle like next 2 period demand forecast. We're not touch about next 1 year demand forecast. Technology change and competitor behavior nowadays, especially given the globalization, these changes are dramatic fast compared to 20 or 30 years ago. I think only Ed and me can tell how slow pace we had 20 or 30 years ago. But nowadays, okay, you guys will also have a hard time maybe after 20, 30 years ago. Later, 20, 30 years later, you get used to the fast pace of change. But the market change so dramatically, and also technology change. Right? So we have to talk about, so it's all challenging. But you think about that way. Well, I always encourage my students to think about that way. We talk about it's challenging. That's the reason we are here. If this topic is not challenging, why you want to pay tuition fee to listen to some Chinese faculty teach blah blah, right? Doesn't make any sense, right? You grab a textbook, you read that in 1 day, and then you return that, get a full refund. That's perfect if it's so easy, right? But it's challenging. That's the reason you are here. It's challenging. That company lead you guys to solve the problem. If you go to some industry or you choose your major, that major is not challenging. The knowledge doesn't update for 10 or 20 years. I would suggest you to be very cautious about the industry, about this company, about this major. Because if you go to some major, some field, it's always old-fashioned. You should have some concern. I can be easily replaced by other people here, overseas, or even worse, permanently replaced by machine. We're so standard, doesn't need upgrade. Right? So that's why I encourage students and also myself, okay, if we see some challenging things, right, we talk about lots of challenges, it's not bad. It's not bad. Well, because it's given the opportunity. Right? For example, supply chain has a lot of job opportunities recently, in the past 10 years. Well, 10 years ago, almost no company has this C-level, chief supply chain office. We talk about why they have this C-level. Because supply chain become more and more complex, more and more challenging. Right? You have to deal with your global partners. That's the reason we have so many opportunities, so many jobs in this field. If you go to some field like manufacturing, well, they don't need people. They don't need so many people anymore, right? So that typically 3 different strategies to change the capacity. Leading strategy. So basically, we make the forecast long term, 5 years. We know 5 years later, our demand will double. Then we prepare now. So we help people nowadays and train them and wait for 5 years. Demand double. That's leading, right? Following. Okay, you already have problem of satisfying your customer demand now. You already have this problem. You experience shortage every week. You know for sure, okay, it's not the future. It's now we're related to increase our capacity. Then it's following strategy. The last one is called a tracking strategy. It's very similar to following, but it's add the capacity in a small amounts to keep pace with increased demand. So it's like, we know that it will double in 5 years, but we add 10% like every month, and finally like go to that stage. So that's 3 different methods. So first question I want to ask you, which method do you prefer? Which method do you prefer, in your opinion? Leading, following, tracking.
Tracking.
Tracking. I didn't say the tracking. Tracking?
I say leading.
Leading. I like you because you are very special. Anybody? Nobody wants the following strategy? Nobody like the following strategy? Nobody? Most people like tracking. Right? Most people like tracking. Well, the standard analysis really depends, right? We know that it's 100% really depends. But I would say tracking is very popular. Generally speaking, tracking strategy is very popular. The reason is that we have talked about last slide, right? So all these three factors is really challenged, especially the second one, the third one, technology change and the competitor change. They happen every day, every week. It's really hard to make the forecast. So when we make a long commitments, right, no matter it's leading or following, usually we make a mistake. Wow. So that's why tracking is so popular. But tracking do have some disadvantage. Can you see the disadvantage of a tracking strategy? No? No disadvantage? Sydney, you must see some disadvantage. Otherwise, you won't choose leading, right?
Oh,
Tracking. What can be the disadvantage of the tracking strategy? Change step by step, right? I increase 10% this month, another 10% next month.
it's not a big jump. Like
It's not a big jump, right?
maybe in the long term, it's just like you said, just like 10%, 10%. It's not. It doesn't go like the 10 to 20.
Yes.
It's like a steady. It's constant. Yeah.
You might miss the meeting.
You might miss the demand. That's right. A leading definitely is right. If it's really double and then double again, you can still right at least handle double, but 10% not enough. But you can still miss the very important point is here. When you track it, you increase 10%. Think about how can you handle that? When you say I want to increase 10%, then you can't purchase a machine, right? You purchase a machine, most likely it's not 10%. Okay, then you can think about a small modification, like work overtime, like temporary workers, like maybe outsourcing. Well, you think about all these solutions, they are most cost effective per units. Think about it, right? So if we think about the cost effective is the leading. You purchase a machine, upgrade that, okay, one-time investments, or you get a good price, right? And that is good. Or you have 100 people, one time, you train all of them, instead you have 10 each month, you have to train orientation again and again, it's consume a lot of efforts, right? And learning curve are different. So if we see the long-term costs, right, per units, or per change, per unit change, capacity change, well, leading, or at least big investment one time is more cost effective. But we have talked about a lot of uncertainty in the future. So that's the reason, even we know it's not so cost effective to change that every month, every 6 months, but many companies did that. Because they can't afford to make big mistake. They can afford to maybe lose some money by help 10 people every month. Yeah, but they can't take the risk. So that's the reason. But there are some companies that do the leading strategy. And these companies are usually the leading companies in their industry. You think about Apple, you think about Google. Right? Well, during the recession, Google had a lot of people. It doesn't mean Google's demand or the service demand is booming during recession. Everybody's hurt, right? We know that. Everybody's hurt during recession, almost everybody. Except my previous company, right? They're not hurt as well. But Google didn't perform extremely well during. Why they want to have a lot of people? Because they want the storage of expertise. Recession is the best time for them to get the expertise, talent from the markets. Because if there's no recession, right, it's really hard to dig somebody like work for Dell to come to Google. Because Dell also pretty good, right? Maybe not as good as Google, but it's pretty decent.
I'm sorry, but what did you say? Like the weakness of the tracking strategy was again?
Well, it's the new per unit cost change. So think about when we cover step by step, right? you can't get specific discount. For example, if you purchase 10 machines in one time, you get discount. If every time you purchase one machine, you don't have any discounts.
So it's not cost effective? Is that...
Yes. For the if you spread out the cost, it's not effective. Similar here, if you have 100 people in one time, you can train them in one group, and then they make progress in the similar step until reach the one step they can work together as a production line. If you hire 10 people every month, then you have to train them every month, and then also their learning steps are different. So it's really take long time for them to be work together. Okay.
Okay.
So leading company is really you have to be leading. So otherwise, if you work for small, middle-sized company, I definitely suggest you be very cautious to use the leading strategy. Following strategy also have problem because customer now is no patience. If you already have problem to satisfy their demand now, the problem is I will purchase the machine next month. Well, many people don't listen to your promise. They will switch to some other retailer or supplier. Okay, that's the end of today's class. We'll see you guys on Friday.